G'day there guys, it's your Aussie Hubby Markee, back at it again with another r/EntitledParents video. Now if you love me like I love you, then you know what to do. I want you to mosey over to that old like button and tackle it like Crocodile Dundee. Maybe even chuck an Aussie flag down in the comments. Now with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready for some bloody good Karen stories. And our first post today is by user, My Mum is Entitled. Titled, Entitled Mother is forcing me to marry my cousin to make her a US citizen. So I was going to post this on my main account before I came to my senses. This isn't really a throwaway, but more an account I'll use to share stories of my entitled family, basically my mum. Before you call bullcrap and start joking around saying Sweet Home Alabama, Roll Tide, 1. Believe me, I wish this was bullcrap, but unfortunately it's an actual situation I'm facing. 2. We are Dominican. Don't know if that changes everything. 3. I hate that song. So, I'm 20 and male. Cousin is 19 and female. Spanish was my first language. I have a third cousin in the Dominican Republic. They are not well off in that country and her mum is a little neglectful. At this point it feels like my mum cares more about her than me, but whatever, she deserves it. She's a good kid who does well in school and wants to move to the US to go to nursing school. She can't, however, because she isn't a legal citizen. My mum decided that it would be the best plan for me to go to the Dominican Republic in June or July and marry my third cousin to make her legal. She brought this up a few years ago, but I thought she was joking. Apparently she wasn't, because recently she brought this plan up again, and she actually was talking about how she already booked flights for the Dominican Republic and crap. What the hell? I'm in a relationship already, and my mum literally told me that she doesn't give a frick about my personal life. All she cares is about going to the Dominican Republic and forcing me to marry my cousin. Thankfully, I talked about the plan with my significant other, and they are supportive. Due to the pandemic and not knowing if it's going to get worse, I think it's safe to say we are not flying out of there. But my mum, for some reason, still acts like we are still going. Basically, I marry her and stay married for a year, then we divorce amicably. My mum pockets any money that's made from this, if any. When I try to downright refuse this was met with screaming, physical anger, and threats to kick me out. I'm afraid to go to any family members because I don't know what's going to happen. Righto, and our next post is by user Random Mallow, titled, My dad was looking through very private files. So this happened just yesterday. The cast are ED, my dad, me is me IRL, mum who did nothing, mum, and sister that did nothing, sister. So I was using my phone browsing through Reddit. I checked what my dad was watching because he usually watches K-drama. I liked K-drama, so I checked what he was watching anyway. And when I checked my dad, he was going through all my files, which firstly he had no right to do, so I scolded him and told him he has no right to go through private school files. My school files were all supposed to be looked through by only my teacher and other school officials anyway. After I scolded him, he slapped me and said he has a right to look through my files because he paid for my school fee, which doesn't even do much other than pay for the necessities. Yet he said because he paid for my school fees, he has the right to go through all my files. I know this one was quite short, but thanks for reading this. Love, some random guy on the internet that has no life. God, it almost sounds like I wrote that story, Jesus. Anyway guys, this one's by user That One Nerd, titled, You're shopping for someone else? Yeah, right. So, some context. Because of this pandemic, 2 families within my family's friend group are unable to leave their houses due to one or more of them being immunocompromised. One of the families, A, gets groceries delivered to their house, but sometimes my mum and I will go buy stuff for them. But the other family, B, which only consists of 2 people, don't go through as much food and they have a ton saved up. So when they need something, my mum and I will go buy it for them. This story is about family B. Last week, my mum sent me to the grocery store to not only pick up shopping for our family, but for family B too. One of the items on the list was hand sanitizer, and because some people are crazy, they will do anything to get the sanitizer. I went into the store, fully expecting there not to be any left, but was able to find some, albeit small bottles, of hand sanitizer. Now, the sign said 1 bottle per household, and I had asked a store employee if it would be alright if I got 2, 1 for my family and 1 for family B. I got the okay and continued to shop. As I was looking for bagels, the bread section was torn apart and things were literally everywhere. This woman, the entitled mother, comes up to me and taps me on the shoulder. Me, somewhat freaked out as I didn't see her come up behind me, is like, "Oh, sorry, I'll move in a bit. Why do you have 2 bottles of hand sanitizer in your cart? It's 1 per family." I'm shopping for 2 families right now. I find the bagels I was looking for, put them in my cart, then get started on getting the shopping for family B, walking away from the entitled mother as I pulled up the list. "Hey!" She grabs me by the shoulder and yanks me away from my cart. "You can't have 2 bottles of hand sanitizer. It's 1 per family." Me, shaken up as I don't like being grabbed by strangers, say, "And I said I'm shopping for 2 families." The entitled mother looked at my cart and scoffs. She reaches in and grabs 1 of the bottles of hand sanitizer. "Like hell you are. I need this for my family, and there's none left, so I'll just be taking this." I grab her arm and yank the bottle from her grasp, put it back in my cart and start walking off. "Stop her! She just stole from me! Thief! Someone stop her!" A store employee stops me and asks what happened. She says, "That child," pointing at me, "is taking 2 bottles of hand sanitizer for 1 family, and there's none left and I need 1. First off, I'm not a child. Second off, I'm shopping for a family friend who can't leave their house due to a compromised immune system. The store employee sighs and says, "Okay, ma'am," referring to me, "you can go. Sorry for the inconvenience." I leave, but as I am, I hear the entitled mother yelling and berating the store employee. I finished shopping and left the store. Family B was very happy to finally have some hand sanitizer, and so was my mum. Alrighty, with that story done, we're on to our next one by TreeStar 2018, titled, "Entitled Parents Invite Themselves on a Vacation and Then Complain It's Not Good Enough for Them." I'm on my mobile. I apologize in advance for any spelling or grammar errors. I, 32 female, was talking with my mum the other day, and mentioned a family we hadn't seen since I was about 10. She told me that after a vacation they joined us on, they decided to stop being friends with them. Here is the story. My parents planned a vacation to take me and my brother, 29, to Yellowstone when we were 8 and 10. They told the entitled parents about the vacation they were planning, and they invited themselves to go with us. They figured it would be fun for us all to go together, as they had kids the same age as me and my brother. Not wanting to be rude to the family or cause issues, since we went to a Bible study at their house every Sunday, my parents included them in our plans. My mum warned them the cabins we were staying in were extremely rustic. Think no walls separating bedrooms, mismatched furniture, and small. They said that would be fine and had my mum book the cabin next to them. Everything seemed to be going pretty well until our vacation actually started. My parents wanted to start driving to Yellowstone fairly early. We lived in Utah, so they wanted to leave around 7 to 8. The entitled parents didn't show up around until 11, and my parents couldn't get a hold of them before this. They weren't even answering their phones. So, this ticked my mum off, and she asked the entitled parents what happened to leaving early, and they told her, "Oh, we like to sleep in on weekends." My dad told my mum to just let it go and to still try and have a good day. When we arrived, the entitled parents instantly turned their noses up at our accommodations and said they wouldn't be good enough for their kids. My mum told the entitled parents that she warned them they were rustic. The entitled parents had friends in the main part of Yellowstone and told my parents they were going to go visit them. My mum reminded them that they had bought food for dinner for all of us, and the entitled parents assured my mum that they would be back for dinner at 7. So my parents cooked a really nice dinner for everyone. We had steak, potatoes, corn, dessert, and waited on the entitled parents to show up. At 8, when the family still wasn't there, they decided to go eat without them, as they had no way of contacting them. We went to bed, and around midnight, the entitled parents showed up. They told my parents the cabins they booked weren't good enough for them, and they would be staying with their other friends for the rest of their vacation. They also said it was a mistake to include my family on their trip because of the cabins that were booked, and they had to start driving so early in the day to accommodate us. My mum and dad had enough of their attitude and reminded them that they were the ones to join us without being invited, and said they were fine with the cabins we booked and our travel plans for leaving. They also told them they were inconsiderate for bailing on dinner and should have told them if they had no intention of having it with us. At that point, the other family left and we never saw them again. Jesus, screw those guys. Our next post is by user mbraid2017, titled, "Put my friend on the phone now." I guess this lady qualifies as an entitled grandma. So this just happened and I'm still shaking my damn head. I manage an automotive repair center in the southern US. This morning I had a very nice elderly lady walk in. She was wearing the new normal face mask and rubber gloves, and asked us to diagnose a few issues she was having with her vehicle. I proceeded to check her in and she elected to sit quietly in the lobby. An hour later, her friend calls and the following conversation ensues. Our car star M, yours truly, EOL, entitled Old Lady. So I'm like, "Thank you for calling company name. This is M. How may I help you?" "Yes, this is EOL. My friend Mrs. Friend's name was going to bring her vehicle in for y'all to look at, and I wanted to see if she made it in." "Oh, yes, ma'am. Miss Friend's name is here, and we are looking at her vehicle now." "That's nice. Can you put her on the phone for me?" "Ma'am, I'm terribly sorry, but with the global pandemic going on, we are closely following CDC guidelines, and that includes not sharing phones. I would be more than happy to relay a message to her, and relay her response back to you if you would like." "That's ridiculous. She's not sick, and you don't sound sick, so just put her on the phone." "I understand that Miss Friend's name doesn't appear to be sick, and that I don't appear to be sick, but that's not how this virus works. We're trying to keep all our customers and employees safe by following CDC guidelines, so I will be happy to relay a message to Miss Friend's name. But again, we are not sharing phones." Well, bless your heart. This is Southern speak for, "You're an idiot and go copulate with yourself violently." You are the rudest and most annoying person I've ever had to speak with. Now, unless you want me to speak with your manager and make no mistake I will have you fired, put Miss Friend's name on the phone now. "Ma'am, I am the manager, and I'm not going to continue tying up the phone lines and my time by arguing in circles with you. Now, unless you would like me to relay a message to Miss Friend's name, I'm going to say have a great day and end this call." Well, bless your heart. I'm gonna call your boss, corporate, my attorney, the local news station. I had had enough at this point and rudely interrupted her tirade. "Look, I have the number for the governor's office and our state and local reps if you would like those." What? You know what? We're done. I'll just call Miss Friend's name on her cell phone. Click. She hangs up. 2 seconds later, Miss Friend's name's cell phone rings in the lobby, and Miss Friend's name asked EOL why she wasted 5 minutes of my time arguing instead of just calling on her cell phone to begin with. Miss Friend's name apologized for EOL when we finished with her vehicle, and tipped both myself and the tech that worked on her vehicle for our troubles. Rightio, our next post is by user PoJasco, titled, "I will be lonely and loveless forever, because I'm chubby and didn't share my Disney Plus account with Karen and her son. Here's a story to keep your poor quarantine souls entertained. The stars: myself, Karen, Karen's kid, brief cameo of the HEB store manager. This one kinda hurt to endure, not gonna lie. I'm not sure how the rest of the world has done stuff like this, but this past month, we in my hometown have treated our shopping days like Black Friday. Wake up real early, stand in line outside of the store, wait, etc. I decided to shop on a Saturday morning. Woke up early, went to HEB, Texas-based grocery store. While waiting in line, I decided to start Star Wars 3. I haven't seen it yet and have only just seen episode 1, 2, 7, 8, and this last Christmas, 9. A cute woman and her kid had just queued up behind me. Her kid is running around and she's trying to control him. I turn the volume on my headphones up. A few minutes later, I feel someone poke on my shoulder. I turn around to see who they are, what they want, and it's Karen. I pause the movie and take out one earpiece. So, is that Disney Plus you're watching? Ah, it is. I'm catching up on Star Wars. Oh, my son loves Star Wars. She pronounced it Stara Wars, like for real. It's not as cool as Harry Potter, and I'm more of a Trekkie myself, but it's not bad. I thought that was all the conversation was going to be, so I go back to streaming my Mouse House subscription. She pokes my shoulder again. I'm like, yes? She has a pen out and it looks like she's going to start writing. Karen says, so, what are your login credentials? I'm sorry? Oh, to your Disney Plus. My husband and kid love Star Wars and Marvel, and I could go for a classic Disney fix. To that, I just turn around. Holy crap, how do people like that even exist? Karen decides to get in front of me and get in my face like she's gonna fight me. Excuse me? Did you just ignore me? I asked for your login stuff? We don't have anything to do at home. How could you be so selfish? I don't even know who you are. Does that matter, boy? You're the only person here who is alone, and I think I know why. Not only do you take up 5 spots, but you're selfish. I know I'm big, but not that big. I identify as Peter Quill from Infinity War, chubby, but not obese. So anyway, Karen is crapping an unholy brick about not getting what she wants until somebody interrupts. It's the store manager. Apparently, this woman had upset somebody a few feet up ahead, and now the manager is here to investigate. Store manager says, excuse me, but can I help with something? I explain the problem. Karen gives him her version of events. Store manager says, sir, I'm so sorry that you had to endure this. Please come to the front of the line and be one of the first people to shop today. At that, no joke, I swear I heard Karen cry like a 5-year-old child. God, screw people like that. Anyway, our next post is by user Clippy Blacken, titled, I have to give your son money because I beat him in a game? So this story started a week ago, and it's been on my mind since. So I have an Xbox and play Rocket League. For people who don't know, it's a game where you are cars and you're playing soccer. Now in this game, there are things called trading, in which I'm involved in the community. You can basically buy items to make your car look better. Now to the story. I was just playing my normal Rocket League game on an early Saturday morning. I've been on a winning streak in ones. If you don't know what ones is, that's 1v1 games. Soon I get into the match with Entitled Kid. Now the game goes normally. I score some goals, he scores some. But halfway through the game he becomes really toxic. And what a saves me. Now, if you're in Rocket League community, you know everyone toxic does this when you miss an easy save. The only problem with this is that I was beating him 8-3. I quickly message the chat 8-3 in response, but he says, yeah, but you're trash. I'm confused, but I don't really care. The rest of the game continues on with him being really toxic. With about 30 seconds left, he messaged me again, FF. For people who don't play the game, this means forfeit, and he wants me to leave the game and let him win. I said no, and quickly reminded him the score, which was 12-5. He then responded, but you're better than me and can get your rank back. And yes, this was a competitive match, and I was about Platinum 2 at the time trying to go for Diamond. Again, I responded no. Finally the game ends, and I say GG and leave. Not even 1 minute later, the Entitled Kid messages me on Xbox. Bro, you're garbage and should quit the game. Again, I just say the score of the game, 12-5. He then says to join his party. I join and I don't say anything and he doesn't either. About 1 minute of silence, then this 10-year-old Fortnite player starts to talk about how trash and is basically cussing me out. Again, I don't care and I'm used to this stuff. Finally, his mum hears him. We will call her Karen. She's like, Entitled Kid, who are you talking to? Some kid harassing me? Yes, I was harassing him. Haven't said one word yet, but when he said that I started laughing. Soon I hear a different voice in the mic. She says, who are you? And I'm like, who are you? I'm Entitled Kid's mum and I heard you're harassing him? Sorry miss, but I'm not and your son's lying. My son doesn't lie. He's an angel and you're like 18 harassing a small child. Now, at times I can have a monotone voice, but I was nowhere near close to 18, and I was only 14. I'm like, "Miss, you gotta believe me." "How can I believe you? Where do you live?" I responded jokingly and said Mars. She didn't take this well and went ballistic on me. Finally, she asks her son what should they do. I can't hear a kid, but then Karen comes back on and says, "Give me all your items and in your game and buy more for my son." I responded with a no and asked if she was stupid. She's like, "Why can't he have your items?" "Because I spent my own money on them." "Well, give it to my son since you harassed him and gave him PTSD. Yes, she said that. I again respond, "No, just give him your items." Now, I was actually getting mad as I did have some semi-expensive items, like some black market decals which cost about $5 to $30. So I'm like, "Sorry miss, but no. But you beat my son in a game, so he should have your items. No wonder your son has a bad attitude. You raised him." She then went ballistic again and started cussing me out. I soon just left the party and have blocked them. This was a super weird experience, and it was really funny for a Saturday morning. Alright, with that one done, we're on to our next post by Strawberry Bisque, titled, "Entitled Mother Tries to Get Me Fired." Now, when I was 16, I worked as a hostess for a restaurant. I had a lot of fun interacting with the kids and helping such nice customers. I was familiar with some of our regulars, who were delightful people and had very few hard customers. But we had one who was just terrible. This woman and her 8 kids come in one day while I'm on shift for lunch, a particularly busy Sunday afternoon. I loved kids, so I looked forward to helping these folks, or maybe even striking conversation while they waited for a seat. I greeted them with my peppy, "Hi, welcome to Friendlies. How many will be joining us today?" The woman, who had a Karen vibe flowing from her, looked at me and said, "Oh, hello, you must be new. It'll be 9 of us, 1 adult and 8 children." I nodded and pointed out that we were busy, which should have been obvious, and told her I could put her down for a waitlist, and that it would only be 5 minutes for a larger table since all the larger groups had been finishing. The lady looks at me and says, "What about our table?" I was confused because we had no call ahead reservations. They would be written on my podium if there was. So I asked and said, "I'm sorry, did you call ahead?" She looked almost offended at that question. She shook her head and says, No, we come every Sunday at 12 p.m. There is always a table saved for us." She pointed to a table in the center of the dining room and said, "That one right there. It's always free and clean and ready for us. Did you give our table away?" I didn't understand. Nobody told me about a woman who comes in every Sunday at 12 p.m. with 8 kids. I also wasn't aware we saved tables for people unless they called ahead. Maybe she did call ahead and it got lost somewhere, or one of the servers didn't inform me we had a reservation. "I'm sorry there was no reservation made for that table. Did you reserve it?" I asked, doing my best to sound professional while working through what the problem was. "No, we don't call ahead. That table is always available at 12 p.m. on Sunday. It is our table." That confused me more. Did they assume the table was theirs because it was open every Sunday? Did they assume the waitstaff saved them a table each time? As a new worker and a kid, I was worried I had done something wrong. None of the waitstaff came to me saying not to seat at that table, nor did the waitress, whose section it was, alert me that table 18 was special. I was super worried, thinking that it was my fault, that I accidentally gave this woman's table away. Miss, we want our lunch," one of the lady's kids said to me. The woman, after hearing her child pipe up, raised her voice and said, "Yes, miss, we want our lunch. I cannot believe you gave away our table. How dare you?" She grabbed one of her sons by the shoulders, pulling him in front of her and says, "Do you see how hungry my children are? This is your fault." The people seated began to get quiet and stare, and looking back on it now, it was probably her goal to make an audience. I'm sorry miss, She cuts me off. No, I do not want excuses. You gave away our table. That table was for us. My children are hungry. You were negligent and obviously not competent enough to work as a hostess if you're giving customers saved seats away. perhaps you'd better be a dishwasher, or at a job where common sense isn't a necessity," she yelled. I felt so ashamed. The whole restaurant was staring at me and whispering. I think someone was recording too, but I'm not sure. Before I could speak, she hollered, "Manager, I want a manager. Hello, manager?" My manager and friend of the family, who I will call Mel, rushes to the front and says, "Is everything okay, ma'am?" "Absolutely not. Your employee gave away our table. I don't know where you find these new employees, but this is ridiculous." I stood there, so embarrassed. My manager looked at me, then to the woman and said, "I'm sorry, what was the name of the reservation?" The woman's jaw dropped. She took a close look at my manager's name tag before finishing. "Mel, we come here every Sunday at 12 p.m, and every Sunday at 12 p.m, there is a table open for us. Maybe you should have told," she looked at my name tag before finishing, "OP, before sitting people." My manager shook her head. "Well, Sundays at 12 p.m. we usually aren't this busy, so I could understand how you'd be able to sit at the same table each time. However, because the Big E, Eastern States Expo, we are very busy. I'm sorry, but you'll just have to wait." "I refuse to wait. You know we come here every Sunday at 12 p.m. We should not have to call ahead because OP gave our table away." Mel remained professional, replying, "Ma'am, it isn't your table. You didn't call ahead and reserve it, and it wasn't given away. It was open when we had a large group, so OP sat the group. If you didn't call to reserve it, we can't reserve it." "But we always sit here on Sundays at 12 p.m, the woman hollered. Mel, who somehow kept calm while this lunatic yelled at her, replied, "Ma'am, if you continue to disrupt our guests, we will ask you to leave." The woman shut her mouth, looking around at the people dining, who had then changed their gaze to her. She said, I demand that we get our meal paid for because of this situation, or free kids' meals. I want my kids' meals paid for." "I'm sorry, but we won't be doing that. You've harassed my staff and disrupted my customers. Please leave the restaurant." This is where it gets crazy. Fair warning. The lady was so upset, she basically began calling racism, saying we weren't sitting her because she was white, and that because I was Spanish, I'm not Spanish, black and white mix, that I was discriminating. Mel, who is white, firmly said, "You will either leave or I will call the police. Please leave." The woman who pulled out her phone dramatically says, "Oh, you're gonna call the police? I don't think so. I am going to call the police and you will be getting shut down. And everyone will be fired and arrested," she said, as she dialed on her phone and called the police. Keep in mind she had like 4 children under 5 who looked terrified. One was even crying. The police showed up, and to spare you the whole Sunday at 12 p.m. stuff, the woman was escorted out. They almost arrested her because of the scene that she was making. Mel said that she didn't want the woman back, and if she did, she would be trespassing. After that, the day went on normally, with Mel offering discounts to everyone who had to endure it. Only 2 people took the offering. I continued to work there for about 2 months before I moved on. I'm still friends with all the staff, and we still joke about it today. I don't know if the woman ever went back. Update. So I texted my old manager to see whatever happened with the lady. Apparently, she came back not once, not twice, but 3 times, and got banned from another location. She went back the first time, when I already had left, and basically did the same thing with the other hostess, who is now a waitress. That girl is my favorite, once tipped her a $20 for a $40 meal. Just loved her that much. Before the police were called, she ran out and said she'd be back. The second time, she came with her husband, who was an officer of the law. He was a security guard. Best bit, a patron knew her, and apparently her and her husband were married for years, but not all of the kids were his. She wasn't arrested, but cited. I think the officer took pity on the children and didn't want to see their mother dragged off to jail. Third time, Mel wasn't on shift. She planned this too. Sadly for this woman, the whole staff had been alerted to call the police if this lady came back. The other manager, Vicky, who was having none of it, said, "Sure, one moment please." Went to the back and called the police. went back to the woman and struck up friendly conversation while the staff was preparing the table. They were not. She was promptly arrested in front of those poor kids. As far as me and Mel know, she hasn't returned, but did call corporate. Nothing came of it because corporate never visited or cited the restaurant. Also, for everyone who knows Friendly's and the Big E, love you guys. Didn't know how many people would know of it either. Alright, that's our episode for today, guys. Tell me what you thought about this r/EntitledParents one down in the comments below. As always, I love your feedback. I'd love to know what you're up to. And yeah, I hope you have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you've been up to today, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!